Hey everyone, it's great to see you. Welcome back, and today I'd like to talk about Red Dead Redemption. I have a very funny history with this game. I love Red Dead Redemption. I think I've beaten this game 6 times, 7 times. But I remember when it originally came out so many years ago, a buddy of mine, Matt, had come over to spend the night and hang out and I don't know, we go do stuff or whatever. And he comes over and I had just purchased Red Dead Redemption, and I sat in my bedroom and I played the game for 14 hours straight, 15 hours straight. I just played and loved every second of this game. And I have a great buddy that passed more recently, and I have very fond memories of running around online with him and hunting animals and just getting up to some goofy shenanigans here and there. And so Red Dead Redemption as a game itself meant a lot to me. And this is actually the, I don't know, I'd call it a port to the PlayStation 4. And this came out more recently, and there's a little bit of drama around it because it was $50, I think, at when it launched, and so a lot of people said, "Hey, that ain't right. It's an ancient game at this point. You're re-releasing it for $50. You've done nothing to upgrade it, and how is that justifiable?" And I actually ended up picking up this copy for about $25. So I felt like I got a good deal, but also I'd been very jealous because on Xbox they'd gotten this fantastic kind of upscaled version of the game where it was running at 4K 60 frames or something along those lines. I can't exactly remember. So when I heard that this was coming out, there was going to be a price. Okay, well, it's a game I love. It's a game I've played through so many times, cherished, and I've been wanting to replay it. So I think I could drop a few dollars for it. And so that's what I did. And just looking at the packaging here, I actually really like, there's this little glossiness, and I don't know if that shows up on the camera, but there's a slight glossiness to the packaging, which I didn't actually expect, but I think is really cool. The game also comes with Undead Nightmare, which I will talk about in a separate video. And I think the back is pretty much as standard for the original title, and the inside has John, pointing a gun. I think that's John. Yeah, that's him. He has a scar in both of those pictures. So yeah, anyways, Red Dead Redemption. As I've told you, I've played this game so many times, and so I really just want to make this video to rant and rave a little bit and have a nostalgia moment with you about Red Dead Redemption. I don't think the story needs much explaining if you're familiar with this series. In this game, John Marston's wife and child have been imprisoned. And I'd actually wish we knew a little more about what exactly that entailed. Like, did they just show up to his house and like put a little kid and his wife in handcuffs, and then what they sent him freaking Abu Ghraib or something? Like, it never actually explains where they are. And Abigail later, tells you a little bit about like, oh, well, they put a gun to my head or something like that, or implyingly says so, but she never says like we were behind bars or. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. Not to digress too much, but he is essentially forced by these federal government agents to take a journey across the West and into Mexico and hunt down some old members of his gang, that being Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, and how am I forgetting the big guy? Well, I don't even know his name. Vanderlyn, Dutch Vanderlyn. Oh my gosh. You think I'd remember. It's been a little bit since I played Red Dead Redemption 2, and admittedly Dutch shows up very little in this game. But it is an epic game. It's a game where John, he works with these wacky people in the West, small town sheriff, Mexican rebels, and the Mexican government, and ultimately back to his family, to be with his family, to build his farm up with his family. And so this game takes place across, I think, 4 main arcs is what I would say, which is John in the West, and down in Mexico, and Blackwater, and then on the ranch at Beecher's Hope. And I love many parts of the story. I think the first arc in the West is iconic, with some fun moments and fun, goofy, out there characters like Seth and Wes Dickens. And when John goes to Mexico, I feel like the game definitely has a tone shift, because there's this civil war going on. There's a lot of what you'll see in Rockstar games. You know, the government and its leaders, DeSanta and the, I don't even know, the colonel or something like that. I can't remember his title. You know, they're not exactly the best people in the world. And then when you meet the Mexican rebels, oh my gosh, well, Abraham Reyes, he's definitely not the best person in the world. And so it's kind of funny that John gets in the middle of this, but it feels much more serious, and like there's some commentary underlying his time in Mexico, which doesn't exist when they're in the West, for example. And then the game becomes more personal when you travel back to Blackwater and you're hunting down Dutch Vanderland. I wish that this part of the game, Blackwater, there was a little more depth to it. I mean, you do not get to Bill Williamson until you are just about done with Mexico, which is right around the same time that you also get Javier Escuela. So you spend, I think, probably the first 35, 40 missions or so of a 55 mission main campaign to get these 2 guys, and then over the course of maybe 4 missions, you track down Dutch. And so I wish that there was a little more beef at the end. But I guess that's what we got in Red Dead Redemption 2, because we get this fantastic fill-in of kind of what was happening a little prior to this game. And, you know, when Red Dead Redemption 2 was originally announced, I was kind of disappointed that they were going the prequel route. Especially they were sequeling a prequel game, which was kind of confusing. But it's very fantastic to go back and play the original game with some of the context, and to look for some of the context clues as to, okay, well, how well did Rockstar do in developing this prequel with some of the understanding of where these characters ultimately end up at. And even little things like John's scars on his face, and who Abigail was, and little Jack Marston. They're a lot of fun. Little things to think about in hindsight of having played Red Dead Redemption 2. So I love the story in this game. It's so fantastic, and it still holds up to this day. And I think the game has a pretty good run time of about 30 hours or so to really get through the experience. And so that's exciting. And in the kind of the gameplay world, I also think that the gameplay still feels pretty good as John. There's all sorts of weapons you can use: pistols, rifles, explosives, melee weapons. I really like some of the little things, like the Deadeye system, where you can slow down time a lot. You can trigger and pick off enemies as you want, and then John will unload on all of them at once. Very fun, and they also make it easy to be mobile with John. He quickly and easily jumps in and out of cover. You can shoulder swap so you can get better views and angles of a room, or whatever you're looking at when you're shooting. And so from a gameplay lens, just in the shooting aspects, that's really great. And I like even the little things, like the small white dot reticule they use. It always, I think about Max Payne 3 as well from this era, because that's around the time that Rockstar's working on that game too. And the shooting is just so tight and clean. There are some clunky aspects to John's movement. He kind of moves with a lot of weight. I would say a little unrealistically even. And you have to be very specific sometimes. Like if you are riding your horse and you hog tie some person, you catch them, you hog tie them, and then you're trying to put them back on the horse, and sometimes the button prompts are finicky, or you'll whistle for your horse, and as the horse comes running up, you'll like jog towards them, and then the horse will turn and run away and run with you, and I'm like, no, come back here. What are you doing? I gotta ride you. And so I always found that the animation felt clunky, especially when you compare it to even GTA 4. And probably part of it is because this game is using, I think, some of the remnants of Euphoria in its animations and things like that. But yeah, just something that always stood out to me about playing this game this time around, but also all times prior. I do really like the world itself in which you are exploring. There's a lot to do here. There are hunting challenges. There are treasures for you to go out and find and use a treasure map to look for and dig around for. There's your stranger missions where you just run across people and they have little tasks for you, or you just have a little cutscene and where something interesting is going on. And you have these main missions where you are kind of preparing for and doing things for people that'll help you either get information or assist you physically on your path to catching Bill, Javier, and Dutch Vanderlyn. The world has a form of fast travel in the form of stagecoaches. And so you can go to a little town and you can find a stagecoach and you can set up a waypoint, or you can tell them to take you to a city and they'll do that. And I really like this style because in a world where you could just fast travel to basically any point on the map whenever you want, I think you lose a little bit of the seasoning, the flavoring of the Wild West. Because one of the most iconic things about playing this game is just being out there in the desert and riding your horse and enjoying the scenery and the music. And the music in this game is incredible. All these just fantastic ambient sounds and little Western style sounds that you would expect to see in like a Sergio Leone film or something like that. The atmosphere of this game is fantastic, and it's something that I think, even compared to Red Dead Redemption 2, that RDR1 does so extremely good. And that's always been such an impressive aspect of this game to me. And maybe that's my nostalgia speaking. I grew up with this game a little bit. So that is something that I do consider. And I think the big thing about getting this version and not playing the PlayStation 3 version or the Xbox 360 version I have is that upgrade to 4K 60 frames, or I think the other option is 60, or I think it's 4K 30 frames or 60 frames 1080p. They both look really good. I loved playing this. I played it in the 60 frames per second version, and the game just looks gorgeous comparatively to either of those. And so I think when you take a little time to go watch a comparison video and just look at the original PlayStation 3 version compared to this one, the textures have been cleaned up, the game looks sharper, the draw distance looks a little better, and I just think overall this is the ultimate way to enjoy the game now that this has been released. And so I think it's worth a good sale price, $20-30. And if you've played the game and have been waiting to play it again, I think it's worth a pickup. And if you've never played the game, then at any price point, this is just a fantastic title to have in your collection, and I think everyone should definitely buy it. There are some wonky things because of the way in which they've kind of upscaled and done the game. Like there's a lot of pop-in. So I remember you'd be riding, there's like cactuses out there, and you can see every cactus as it loads and little things like that. But nothing that destroys the experience and the performance of the game for me. So that's a little bit about what I wanted to recap. I loved this game. I thought it was fantastic. Little challenges, the big story missions, everything in between is such an adventure and so much fun. I love collecting outfits. I love getting all the guns. I love messing around. There's even a trophy to like tie up somebody and put them on a train track and watch the train come by, or climb on the train and just ride it around the West and around Mexico and just kind of have fun seeing the game. It's such a vibe of a title, and I really respect that about Red Dead Redemption. So Have you played Red Dead Redemption? I hope you have. I mean, it's been around for a long time. It's a fantastic experience. And if you have played it, what were your experiences with it? Would love for you to share your memories of being a kid and playing a game like this. I love those kind of things. And your opinions as well, if you think it's a good game or not. And if you like the video, please like the video, and would love for you to stick around and talk more games with me in the future. So please subscribe if you're interested in that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.